Marry her. The words sliced through the musty air of the old law office like a whisper from the grave. Damon Sinclair stood frozen, Armani-clad and stone-faced, in the room where his late father once ruled as a legal titan. The man who spoke, Arthur Davis, a tired-eyed lawyer with the weight of too many secrets, watched him with a gaze equal parts sympathy and resignation. "Are you telling me," Damon said, voice taut as steel, "that I'm to marry a woman I just saw sleeping beneath the Wabash Avenue Bridge? Is this your idea of a twisted joke, Arthur? Or has my father's eccentricity finally clawed its way back from the grave?" The crumpled will of Alistair Sinclair still lay between them on the heavy oak desk. Outside, the distant wail of sirens clawed at the silence, echoing through the decaying streets of Chicago. The empire his father built, Sinclair Media Group, was on the edge of collapse. Creditors closing in, rivals circling like vultures. Damon Sinclair, 40 years old, acting CEO, with the heart they said was colder than a Michigan winter wind, was now tasked with stopping the fall. A task so absurd, it might as well have been fiction. Arthur's office smelled of old paper and faded hopes. Damon looked like an alien in it, his tailored suit a jarring contrast to the threadbare leather chair he sat in, his chiseled face, normally sharp with control, now hollowed by fatigue. Even his ice-gray eyes, which once commanded boardrooms, now struggled to conceal the weight of sleepless nights. Arthur cleared his throat, his voice steady but with a tremble that betrayed the gravity of what he was about to read. "The final clause," he said, and paused. "To inherit your father's estate, including full control of Sinclair Media Group and a $500 million trust, you, Damon Alistair Sinclair, must legally marry within 30 days of the will's reading." Damon didn't flinch. He'd heard stranger things from his father when he was alive. But this was cruelty with legal stationery. Arthur didn't smile. "If you fail to marry within that period, the entire estate will be transferred to the National Persian Longhair Cat Preservation Society." That broke Damon's composure. He let out a dry, bitter laugh. "Persian cats?" he echoed. "The man who built a media empire, who controlled every breath I took growing up, now wants to leave everything to a bunch of cats. Because I won't get married." But there it was. The will, notarized. The clause, binding. The company, crumbling. "Today is day 1, Arthur reminded softly. "You have 29 left. Find a bride, or start brushing up on feline advocacy." Damon's mind spun. The weight of legacy, of promises to a mother long buried, whose only wish was that he protect what she helped build. Love? Happiness? That wasn't what this was about. He needed a wife. Any wife. Fast. He toyed briefly with hiring someone, a transactional marriage, but dismissed it. Too risky, too easy to unravel. The tabloids were hungry for scandal, and Sinclair's name couldn't afford a bruise, let alone a fracture. Desperation drove him through sleepless nights, through back streets and forgotten neighborhoods of Chicago, places he'd never stepped foot in before. In his Bentley, he glided from neon-lit avenues to alleys swallowed in shadow, seeing a city that was not his own. A city of struggle, of stories untold. One night in late October, rain whispering across the windshield and wind biting through Armani wool, he saw her. Curled beneath a concrete bridge, a figure hunched under a threadbare tarp. She wasn't lying down. She sat upright, book in hand, trying to read under a flickering street lamp. Each page turned with care. Each gust of wind met with quiet resistance. Something made him stop. He didn't know why. She had long, tangled hair, dirt-streaked skin. But when she looked up, startled by the sound of his steps on wet pavement, he saw eyes, clear, piercing blue, like a midnight lake frozen in time. "Who are you?" he asked. She clutched the book to her chest, eyes wary. "What do you want?" "I have a proposition," he said, straight to the point. "No games." Her silence dared him to continue. "I'll give you $100,000 and a safe place to live. In exchange, I need a wife for 1 year. After that, we part ways." She blinked, once, twice. "Why me?" she asked quietly. "A homeless woman under a bridge?" "You're the first person I saw," Damon said flatly. "And you don't seem complicated. I don't have time for complicated." There was a pause. Then from the stillness, her voice, "My name is Serafina Moon. Call me Sarah." Her lips pressed together, weighing something unseen. "I'll do it. But 2 conditions. I keep my book and personal items. And you help my friend Grace. She's sick, in a shelter nearby." Damon nodded. No hesitation. "Deal." And so, beneath a bridge soaked in Chicago rain, a contract was formed. Between a desperate CEO and a woman with nothing to lose. The wedding was the next morning, in a quiet government building. No flowers, no guests, just Arthur Davis, Sarah in borrowed clothes and rings as plain as their expressions. She became Mrs. Sinclair in name. But that was just the beginning. If this story has sparked something in you, if you've ever wondered what second chances might look like in the most unexpected places, stay with us. There's more, much more. And if it's touched your heart so far, consider sharing it. Someone else might need a story like this today. After the wedding, Sarah followed Damon into his penthouse, a stark cathedral of glass and steel with sweeping views of Lake Michigan and the jagged skyline of Chicago. It was a place that screamed wealth but whispered loneliness, the kind of space designed to impress, not to live in. He showed her the guest bedroom, spacious, immaculate, cold. He was polite but distant, as if she were a temporary employee, not a wife. He provided her with clothing, essentials, a weekly allowance, and firm instructions. Stay out of sight, stay in your room, and speak to no one unless permitted. "This is a business arrangement, Miss Moon," he said coolly. "Remember your role." But even then, something in her presence unsettled him. Sarah, now clean, clothed, and reawakening, revealed a quiet beauty. Her pale skin took on a soft glow. Her dark hair, now washed and loose, shimmered gently in the light. And her eyes, those deep, haunting eyes, seemed to hold whole stories within them. Stories of pain, of strength. She spent her days reading. Not TV, not lounging. Reading. Old books she brought with her. Titles from his own neglected library. She devoured them with the hunger of a mind that had once known purpose. And Damon, despite himself, was intrigued. When he needed her for formal events, to appease board members or satisfy Arthur's persistent suggestions, Sarah transformed. Though she was shy and unused to the glittering halls of high society, her mind shone brighter than any gown he bought her. She didn't flirt. She didn't fake charm. She observed. She listened. And when she spoke, her words carried weight. Subtle, sharp insights on politics, art, media. People noticed. Victor Sterling noticed. Sinclair Media's rival. A man in his 50s with a charming veneer and a predator's eyes. Victor sensed something strange about this sudden marriage, about this mysterious woman at Damon's side. He began digging, and while Victor's suspicions grew, Sinclair Media faced another storm. A powerful politician sued the Chicago Chronicle, one of Sinclair's key publications, for libel. The lawsuit was brutal. Tens of millions in damages, threats to pull licensing, and the potential collapse of the company's last credible news outlet. Damon was cracking. Sarah knew something was wrong. She overheard his calls, saw the strain, read the documents he carelessly left behind in the library, and though he told her to stay out of his affairs, she didn't. Because Sarah Moon had a secret. She wasn't just a woman who lost everything. She wasn't just a homeless soul beneath a bridge. She was once a rising star in investigative journalism. She'd graduated top of her class from a prestigious East Coast university. She'd held a coveted role at an elite watchdog publication, until it all vanished. "I used to be a reporter," she said softly one evening, stepping into the library where Damon sat alone. "Investigative. I see patterns in this lawsuit. It smells like a setup." He scoffed. "What do you know of this world, Miss Moon?" She didn't flinch. "More than you think." For the first time, she offered to help. "Show me the case files," she said. "Let me look deeper." And something in her voice, quiet, resolute, made him say yes. So they worked, together, through night and day, turning his penthouse into a war room, stacks of files, scribbled notes, a wall of red string, metaphorical and literal. Damon watched, amazed, as Sarah unfolded the truth. She found inconsistencies, forgotten witnesses, digital trails, holes so wide in the politicians' claims they could swallow buildings whole. Arthur Davis, too, was drawn back in. The old lawyer saw in Sarah not a contract bride, but a warrior. Together they uncovered a tangled web of deceit pointing directly back to Victor Sterling. Sterling had weaponized the lawsuit, using the politician as a pawn, a ploy to crush Sinclair Media and acquire it at a fire sale price. Sarah tracked down a disillusioned young reporter at the Chronicle who corroborated everything, a whistleblower who'd almost given up hope until Sarah offered him something rare in today's world, someone to believe in. And as the danger grew, so did the bond between Sarah and Damon. Working shoulder to shoulder, sharing long hours, meals, fears, they learned to trust. They learned to laugh. They began to see each other not as strangers, not as survivors, but as something more. And in one tense moment, when thugs sent by Sterling cornered Sarah in an alley, attempting to steal the evidence she carried, it was Damon who came charging to her defense, fists flying, blood drawn, heart racing. When it was over, he held her, and something broke inside him. Or maybe something healed. But that wasn't the only revelation that night. In the chaos, Sarah dropped something. An old press badge, faded, but the name was unmistakable. "Phoenix?" Damon whispered, holding it. You're the Phoenix." The journalist who, 5 years ago, had taken down Omnicorp, one of the most corrupt corporate giants in the country. The woman who vanished after exposing billionaires and saving lives. She nodded, tears in her eyes. Victor Sterling, Damon realized, wasn't just a threat now. He had once tried to destroy Sarah's life. He'd been one of the men behind her fall. Now she was back, and he was about to pay. If this part of their journey stirred something in your soul, share this moment. Remember, heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they hold books under bridges. With Sarah's testimony, the dam broke. Damon called for an emergency shareholder meeting. The grand boardroom, once a cold battlefield of corporate power plays, now buzzed with tension and anticipation. The press was there, regulators, investors, members of the board, many of whom had quietly aligned with Sterling, waiting to see which way the wind would blow. But none of them expected her. When Serafina Phoenix Moon stepped to the podium, the room fell still. No designer gown, no flashy entrance, just a poised woman with piercing eyes and a voice that carried the gravity of truth. She unfolded the conspiracy with surgical precision, exposing every false document, every manipulated fact, every hidden hand behind the attack on the Chicago Chronicle. And when she told her story of betrayal, of being hunted, of losing everything, it wasn't a plea for pity. It was a rallying cry for justice. She named Victor Sterling, and the room turned, not with applause, but with collective breath held, with disbelief melting into recognition, with the unmistakable power of truth reclaiming its place in the world. Damon stood beside her, not as a CEO protecting his assets, but as a man in awe of the woman who had saved his company, his legacy, and him. "I owe everything," he said to the room, "to my wife. Not because she filled a clause in a will, but because she revealed what no one else could. Not just the truth in this case, but the truth in me." Sterling was finished. Investigations launched, shareholder confidence surged, Sinclair Media, once circling the drain, rose from the ashes, and Phoenix Moon became a name spoken with reverence. Media outlets begged for interviews. Publishers offered books. Networks fought to hire her. But she didn't chase fame. She reclaimed her voice and her mission. She returned to journalism, but this time on her terms. Damon offered her a lead role in Sinclair Media's new investigative division, a space carved out not for ratings but for righteousness, and Sarah accepted. She also started a foundation, the Phoenix Rising Fund, to support young journalists from disadvantaged backgrounds. A flame ignited under bridges and in back alleys, now lighting paths for others. But amid the victories and rebuilding, something deeper bloomed. Their marriage, once a transaction, had transformed. The contract still existed, on paper, but their hearts had made their own vows. One quiet evening, as Sarah sketched landscapes in the now warm penthouse filled with books and laughter, Damon sat beside her. "Sarah," he began, his voice tentative, "there's something I never told you, something I should have said a long time ago." He told her everything. The will, the deadline, why he chose her that night under the bridge, how it started as desperation, how he thought he could buy his way out of ruin, and how he'd been utterly, irrevocably wrong. "I was arrogant," he said, eyes glistening. "I thought I needed a wife to save my company, but what I truly needed was you. You didn't just save the business, you saved me." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I don't want a wife because of a clause. I want a partner, a friend, a love that's real." He opened it. Inside, a sapphire ring glimmered, a stone as blue and clear as her eyes, surrounded by tiny diamonds like guiding stars. "Seraphina Moon, my heart, my hope. Will you continue to be my wife, not because of a will or a contract, but because we found something worth keeping? Will you choose me, as I now choose you?" Sarah's tears sparkled like the city lights outside the window. "Yes," she whispered, "now and always." They kissed as the sun set beyond Lake Michigan, two souls who found each other not through destiny, but through trials, truth, and the courage to start again. Their story became a symbol, a reminder that love can be born in the coldest places, that hope can survive betrayal, that second chances are real, and that sometimes, under the bridges we fear to cross, the most beautiful beginnings are waiting. And if you felt something stir inside you through this journey, if you've ever stood at the edge of giving up and longed for a sign that it's not too late, don't look away just yet. Because recently, researchers uncovered something extraordinary, a discovery hidden in nature, a mysterious purple shell studied for its potential to triple fat burning even while you sleep, without extreme diets or endless workouts. If you're ready for a second chance, not just in love, but in your body, energy, and self-worth, the information is waiting. You'll find everything you need in the video description. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who's struggling, someone who needs hope, someone who still believes in love, in truth, in rising again, because that's what phoenixes do. In this story, it's not just fiction, it's a reminder you're not done yet.